What's up, YouTube? It's that time of the league where I don't know what to do anymore for videos, so I'm gonna look at some nice DPS profiles. And this profile, a lot of people always ask me about. It is how can someone get 1 billion DPS without cheating? And when I first looked at the profile, I thought it was gonna be full of shit, but the guy is pretty legitimate. He knew all the tricks in the book, and as you can see here, this is not him playing the build, but this is a build that's pretty similar to it. It is a 12 link Flicker Strike build that I don't really know what the damage is, but it looks like a couple 100 million, somewhere around there. And I played Flicker Strike in the past. It's pretty good in Simulacrum. The ability to go everywhere and instantly to the mobs is really underrated, and it really helps out with getting rewards. And right there, he cleared it pretty fast. This is actually wave 30 now, so let's see how he does it. Putting down the totems as usual. And you can see here, it is a pretty nauseating gameplay. It is really fast, and it really made me motion sick when playing it. And a lot of my viewers also got nausea and had to go to the hospital. Not really, but as you can see, this playstyle is not for everyone, but it is very effective. And before, you could use Divergent Melee Splash, which actually adds an insane amount of damage. So you can see there, the boss evaporated. Not the fastest in the world, but definitely super, super fast. But in these videos, I hope that by examining how these people can get so much damage, you're able to apply this to your own builds and fix its shortcomings. And you can see here why crit is king because of multiplier and crit chance. But let's get straight into it and look at the profile. So this is the POE.Ninja Leaderboards, and as you can see here, there's always the same exact builds. Now, the reason behind the same exact builds is because of the config settings on Path of Building. Now, this is Flicker Strike at 1.1 billion, Flicker Strike at 315 million, Cast on Crit Ice Spear at 224 million, Barrage at 211 million, and then more Ice Spear, Flicker Strike, and Ice Spear. It's always the exact same skill, so Cast on Crit Ice Spear, in stacking Power Siphon or accuracy stacking Power Siphon, Barrage, Flicker Strike, and sometimes Blade Vortex. Now, the reason behind this is when you import these profiles over, especially with Ice Spear, it always chooses the final form and all projectiles, and Barrage also chooses all projectiles. So it pretty much assumes that the boss will be getting fully shotgunned by all of your projectiles. So that's why these skills are always at the very, very top. Now, for skills like Lightning Strike, it does not assume that the boss is getting hit by the melee and the projectile component. So that's why these skills are always at the top. And Flicker Strike is just an insanely well-scaling skill, especially if you play Slayer, as we'll see later on why. Now, Sentinel will allow for even crazier DPS due to the prevalence of +2 Frenzy and +2 Power Charge rings. So builds like Occultist, which relies on power charges, or Raider, or even Slayer, which relies on frenzy charges, will have an even higher top end. Now, this section over here should help you out a lot on trying to sift through Path of PoE Ninja and trying to find a legitimate build. Now, when I'm making this section, it's like how to catch a predator, right? But this is how to catch a cheater, more like it. But basically, first off, you have the profile here, and you have to import it into Path of Building. So a lot of people don't really understand what exactly the configs are. So you can go into here, put the code in, import, and here you have it. First thing you have to check is the number of skill points. Now, something interesting to note is that Path of Building and POE.Ninja, or whatever the API is, now seems to know exactly how many points you have allocated in your cluster jewels, which is pretty interesting. Because before, Path of Building and POE.Ninja would immediately allocate every single one of these points. But for some reason now, compared to my previous videos, they now know what exact points you have allocated in your cluster jewels, which is why the number of points in the profile is actually legitimate. It's 122 out of 123, and the profile, as you can see here, is actually level 99. So this profile and the passive points is perfectly legitimate, which was something we never seen before. Now, next up, we want to see if they're using unique flasks with increased effect. As everyone knows, unique flasks are the #1 way to boost your damage, especially if you roll it with the enkindling orbs. That gives you 68% to 70% increased effect. So something you always want to see is this profile using all unique flasks with increased effect? And this is the case here. If you take off these flasks, you can see here you lose half of your damage. But for bossing, you can pretty much one-shot the boss, and you can have all of these flasks up, you can pop them, and you can kill the boss immediately that way. So this is not really like fully cheating, this is just someone who is kind of cheating, but it doesn't really matter. Now, next up, you want to check the skill gems and mana reservation. A lot of people put skill gems to cheat POE.Ninja because they understand how POE.Ninja's config actually works. So here, if we look at the skill gems, we see Assassin's Mark, Mark on Hit, Frostbomb, and Anger. Most people, when they're playing the game, they're not casting Frostbomb on the boss while using Flicker Strike. So this is pretty much just using it for the cold exposure of 15% pen. If you lower this, it's a little bit of damage, so it's not too crazy. And we see the mana reservation is at negative 61%. So there is a little bit of discrepancy here with the mana. Not really sure where the issue is. Maybe not running Aspect of the Cat. So it should still, it doesn't seem like it does anything. Oh, Aspect of the Cat is always free because of Replica Pharaoh's Fur. So he does have a little bit too much mana reserved. Now, Summon Skitterbots is something that almost every single POE.Ninja warrior will use. And the reason being is that you actually don't get any shock effect on the config. So you can see here, there's no shock effect. And Summon Skitterbots does allow you to shock, but somehow the Skitterbots is not very strong, and it only gives him 1.2% DPS, which I'm not really sure why. Maybe I'm missing something. But all these auras are in the chest. You have Precision, 66% hit chance. Taking it off brings it down to from 100% to 66%. And without chance to hit, your damage is going to be terrible. Herald of Ice, and then Hatred, and Berserk. Now, Berserk is probably the biggest part of this profile that I found that was cheating, and that is because he's using the Rage Support gem. The Rage Support, putting the Rage Support gives you 50 Rage on the POE.Ninja config, as you see here. So you get Rage if you have Berserker, Crave the Slaughter, Ascendant Berserker, or Rage Support at the value of 50. So having this value of 50 means that the Berserk, which he will never have while bossing, because he's not going to have the Rage because he has no Rage generation. And POE.Ninja just thinks that he has Rage generation because he has the Rage Support gem. So the Berserk is a pretty big, substantial DPS increase at 47%. So this is a damage that he would never have, and this is pretty much only because he put in the Berserk gem and the Rage Support gem. So if you want to cheat your profile, you can put in the Rage Support gem, put in the Berserk gem, and you'll have like 50% increased damage. Now, next up, you have the 2 totems. Now, most people do use 2 totems when you actually drop these totems down. You have Ancestral Protector and Ball Ancestral Warchief, and totems are a huge part of the damage. You can see here the Ancestral Protector totem is 41% of the damage. Ancestral Warchief is another huge portion. I'm not really sure why it's not activating. Oh wait, there we go. So both these totems are an insane amount, and we'll go over why these totems actually give him so much damage. And then you have Vortex. You can put Vortex on left click so that you can, so the Vortex gives damage because it makes them, I think, take more cold damage with Bone Chill. So enemies in chilling areas for supporter skills increase cold damage taken by chill effects. So that's why they actually use the Vortex with Bone Chill, and that's because they take more damage from the chill effect. Now, another thing to note is that it might be strange why people don't use Nightblade on these profiles. And the reason you don't use Nightblade on Flicker Strike is because if we put in Nightblade support, you will see that Nightblade actually gives no damage at all. And that's because the POE.Ninja config will not check elusive for you. There's no way to actually grant you elusive. And Nightblade should always be one of the top support gems, especially if you invest into it on the tree. And the reason being, you can't get elusive, so POE.Ninja will give you no elusive, so Nightblade actually does nothing with POE.Ninja's way of configuring the profile. So now we know how the profile works and how the config looks like. We have to wonder, why is the damage so high? Now, the damage is so high because you are using a 12-link weapon that has a bunch of support gems, and all of these support gems are pretty much multipliers on flat damage. We look at the claw here. This is a 12-link claw with a bunch of support gems. Now, you might be wondering, where does all of the flat damage come from? It comes from Awaken added cold damage, Ice Bite, which grants cold damage per frenzy charge, and then he has the cold damage per frenzy charge on the ring. So you can see here his rings are crazy. This is a +2 maximum frenzy ring with attack speed. crit multi, and then 4 to 8 added cold damage per frenzy charge. So if you take off his rings, you can see here he loses half his damage. So cold damage for frenzy charge is huge. Hatred Watcher's Eye also gives us 70 to 96 cold damage while affected by hatred. And also the flat damage from Abysses gets converted into cold with the cold masteries, I'm pretty sure. So there's 40 to 60 physical damage to attacks, and I'm pretty sure he has the cold mastery. Oh, he doesn't have the cold mastery. So, oh wait, he does have the cold mastery here. So he converts a portion of it to cold damage. So let's go look at his Flicker Strike here. So he converts only, so let's see the conversion, 15, 15, 94% to cold. So he does have almost full cold conversion. Man, the number is so high it goes off the screen. But basically, all of that damage comes from the jewels, the Watcher's Eye, the power charge, the frenzy charge cold damage, and the abysses. And all of that flat damage is then scaled with crit multi and having a 100% crit chance. Now you might be wondering, how does he get all of this crit multi without abusing Nightblade? Well, the reason being is you get 125% multi from the abysses, and then you have all of these Viridian jewels, which gives you triple multi. And anyone who wants to get a lot of damage, you have to play a crit build that allows you to get multiplier. And this skill is not exactly the best skill at stacking multi because it has no elemental tag that allows him to use multi with elemental skills or multi with lightning. So these jewels are triple multi. So it has generic multi, multiplier with one-handed melee weapons, and then melee critical strike multi. So all of his jewels added up gives him 870% multi. And next up, you have all of this damage is penetrated with Omniscience. Of course, this build is an Omniscience build. Omniscience grants him 1,141 Omni, and that is 114% pen. You take it off, and it's half damage again. Now, he also utilizes large clusters of attack speed and attack damage while leeching, and since he's a Slayer, he gets the always leeching bonus. So all of those Feed the Fury, Fuel the Fights are all activated in this profile. So you can see here, Feed the Fury, increased damage while leeching, attack speed while leeching, Fuel the Fight is attack speed and more increased damage while leeching. So if you uncheck are you leeching on this profile, it actually doesn't do anything. Oh, it's because it's a Slayer, so it's always leeching with that node. So now we go on to the medium clusters and the reason why the totems are so strong. So you can see here the totem nodes on the medium clusters are Ancestral Echo. Now what Ancestral Echo does, or Ancestral Guidance, Ancestral Guidance gives an increased effect of buffs your Ancestral Totems grant while active. And this is especially important because all of these totem buffs are multipliers. So this is more attack speed. So when you have the increased effect, you are increasing the effect of a multiplier. So that is extremely, extremely important, which is why he actually has so many medium clusters of Ancestral Guidance. So he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then all of these jewels are all triple multi jewels, triple multi, triple multi, triple multi, and triple multi. This actually is synthesized multi too. So basically, he gets all of the attack speed from the totems, and then he gets a bunch of flat damage from his gear, gems, and jewels. He has a bunch of crit multi from the jewels that gives him 870%, and that leads to 34 attacks per second, 870% multi, and 1.1 billion DPS. So that's how you figure out why he has so much damage. And next up, we have to figure out why is he a Slayer. Now, you might be wondering why a Slayer, right? Is Karn right all along that Slayers are the best class in the game? And he kind of is right. Slayers have this node here that grants you an additional frenzy charge, but more importantly, it makes your maximum endurance charge equal to your maximum frenzy charge, which means that he can have 12 endurance and 12 frenzy charges. Now, you utilize this belt called Arn's Anguish, which makes it so you have +1 maximum endurance charge, but it converts your endurance charge to brutal charges, and brutal charges gives you 3% chance to deal triple damage. So with 12 brutal charges, he has 36% chance to deal triple damage, which comes out to 72% more damage. So if you take off the belt, you can see it is an 80.2 damage percent DPS increase, which is absolutely crazy. It beats out any Ascendancy, even Berserker. So that's why he's a Slayer. A Slayer is also really good in general for the nodes like here. This pretty much gives you always leeching, and then this node here is just 10% more damage and 20% more damage. flat against unique enemies. And then this node here is 15% more melee damage, along with accuracy rating. So all of the parts of Slayer are incredible for Flicker Strike. So this is definitely one of the best ascendancies if you want to min-max your POE.Ninja DPS. Now, lastly, I also forgot Panopticon, huge node right here. This node gives him a huge amount of damage because of the increased effective buffs from your ancestral totems, and he's getting this with Thread of Hope, which also allows him to get Art of the Gladiator. Now, lastly, the profile is pretty legitimate for a 1 billion DPS profile, and this is just from someone who knows exactly how to do the POE.Ninja config, and it is nice to see that POE.Ninja actually knows what support gems or what you have allocated in your cluster jewels. And this is actually a huge benefit in the future because people can't really cheat the profile that much. And what you see on POE.Ninja will be a lot more accurate, and you won't see all of these profiles of like 150 points or something like that. And it will stop a lot of people from being baited. I'm not really sure what changed, if they fixed the API or something, but this is an incredible change, and I'm very pleased with it. Now, Flicker Strike, if you should play a build like Flicker Strike, because I do get a lot of questions about should I play Flicker Strike, and the answer is you should go look at a video and see if you can watch it without getting nauseous, because the playstyle is not for everyone. It is an incredibly fast map clear. It can kill bosses super fast, and it has infinite scaling, as you can see here, with damage. And this person's gear is not even fully done out. He could have mirrored his Eagle Twirl ring, and he would have gotten, what, a 12% damage increase. So this profile could get a lot more damage. Watcher size, not even triple affix, but at this point, what's even the point? Nothing is going to survive against 1.2, 1.3 billion DPS. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope this video helped you out. And let me know down below in the comments if you want to see another profile and me breaking everything down. But I hope you find more mirrors, exalts, and mage bloods than me. And see you next time. Bye.